Welcome to the Save Daredevil team discussion, our final panel of Save Daredevil Con. This is one that's very special to us, that we wanted to bring the team behind the scenes here in Save Daredevil land to everybody out there so that we could talk about sort of what we've done to give advice to future Save Our Show campaigns, or to even let those that have been a part of the movement since the beginning or since last week, a view of how this happened and where we are. So we hope everybody has enjoyed Save Daredevil Con and that you've enjoyed all of the content that's come to you so far. And we're going to start with introducing ourselves. I'm Rhiannon. I'm also a podcaster on Marvel News Desk. I'm sort of a late joiner of the Save Daredevil movement compared to some of the other ladies here. But I'm going to let them introduce themselves and talk a little bit about their roles in the campaign. So do we want to start with Phyllis?
You can start with me. So, hi, my name is Phyllis. I have been part of the Save Daredevil campaign since prior to day one, back when we were still Renew Daredevil, and I was there to help kind of usher that in and help guide the transition into Save Daredevil. Yeah, I'll stop there and I'll let other people introduce themselves first.
Okay, so my name is Aisha, and I've also been part of Save Daredevil since before it was Save Daredevil, when it was Renew Daredevil. And yeah, I'll let Christina is next.
Hi, I'm Christina, and I've also been part of Save Daredevil from when it was still Renew Daredevil. And yeah, I got to say, I can't think of a better group of people to be in a team with, because y'all are awesome. The people on the screen and the people who are not here on this panel because they're busy working on the con. So shout out to all of them.
Hi, my name is Lauren. I have been a part of the team since December 2018. Shortly after it became Save Daredevil, I got a Twitter, started tweeting, and started bugging Renew Daredevil. That was then Save Daredevil, and they invited me onto the team. So been here since then.
And Lauren joined Twitter just for Renew Daredevil or Save Daredevil. Like, learned social media from the beginning, because that was one of, and I joined the team like a little bit later into 2019 after attending an event and maybe attending a couple of events. After I pretty much was out doing Team Save Daredevil stuff anyways, Phyllis finally was like, hey, you're on the team. Come, be here.
Yep, that's one way to join the team.
Yeah.
You're already here, so please just join.
My number one volunteering tips. If you're wanting to volunteer and you don't know who to volunteer with, hang out with people for a very long time. And if you really like them, go ahead and become a part of their volunteer movement. Which brings me right to like our first discussion topic. Like, all of you have been around since the very beginning, since this was maybe a renewal effort. Yeah, and the renewal effort was when it was just that we were pushing for season 4 after season 3 ended. And then the show was canceled and it moved right into Save Daredevil, trying to get Daredevil, the same version, seen on Netflix, a new home with the same cast, same premise, same tone. So all of you were sort of, for me, it was like there was these Twitter, there was hashtags, there was all of this. When did it go from just sort of being something that you were doing to feeling like an actual movement?
I can start with this one. So obviously being a part of the team since the very beginning, I've felt very strongly about what our campaign could do and what it was, what potential there was for it. But I would say, there was nothing that ever felt guaranteed in the beginning. We knew sort of the realities of the situation and how it felt kind of stacked up against us. But I would say the moment where it really crystallized for me as a movement that was beyond just our group was when Vincent D'Onofrio shared our website. And that was such a strange, funny coincidence and turn of events, because we had literally that day launched SaveDaredevil.com, because we had sort of taken some time to redo it and redo the site. And the same day that we actually get that page live, Vincent goes ahead and tweets it from his account, super casual. And I remember the whole team was like, wow, that's amazing. He tweeted about our campaign, and then we just watched the petition numbers rise. You know, we knew there were people out there that didn't know who we are, didn't know the show was canceled, had no idea there was a Save Our Show campaign in the works. And, you know, it wasn't for lack of effort on our part to get it out there, but, you know, a lot of these things do require more than just fans that feel strongly about something. There's a lot of parts to this engine that, you know, it becomes marketing, it becomes press, it becomes having people with louder voices and a bigger platform than us to really get our name out there. So that would be for me when it really felt like, well, maybe we could really get this out there and do something with this.
So, Phyllis, you're right. The Vincent tweet made the biggest difference. But to me, the day I realized that it was something serious was the day we all got together in that first Twitter chat room, because one of the fans had tagged all of us who were tweeting about Renew Daredevil for over a month since, you know, season 3 premiere. And that day that it was a week before the cancellation, we obviously didn't know it was coming. And it was a Sunday morning, I remember. We all got together in a chat room and we decided that we're going to make an actual effort, do maybe a tweet fest, you know, to get Save and Renew Daredevil trending or something like that. And we had a website up in one day, and we launched on Monday. And on Thursday night, we found out that Daredevil had been canceled. So, and that felt, I mean, it was a big blow, but I know that it took us a very short time to pivot from Renew Daredevil to Save Daredevil. So it was already feeling like a movement to me at that time.
Yeah, I definitely agree with both of those things. Vincent retweeting was huge. And for me also, the fact that we went from Renew Daredevil to Save Daredevil so quickly, that made me feel like, oh no, we've got a chance here. And a more recent thing that just personally got it for me was right after we had a post about how it was 18 months since the cancellation, IGN wrote an article about that and actually linked to our Instagram. And that was huge for me. My gaming friends who, you know, are kind of think, okay, you're Save Daredevil thing, it's kind of cute. They were like tweeting me going, do you know that IGN linked to your IG account? That was kind of, for me, that was a moment of, wow, this is huge.
Speaking of the IGN article, I had a friend who was like, hey, I saw an article that, you know, it's been 18 months. And like, yeah, and I kind of like started smiling and I was like, I'm not making fun. I was like, it's just, they got the info from our Instagram account. And it was just, yeah, it was like really cool and like bizarre. But for me, I mean, yeah, it was Vincent's tweet. I was actually on day 2 of a migraine in bed, and that got me out of bed, and I like come out and I'm like, oh my gosh, like it's blowing up. And, you know, we had just been trying so hard, you know, like tweeting and doing everything that we could. And it was just like, we finally got that moment. And my husband was very skeptical, like, okay. And then when Vincent did and he saw the numbers, he's like, oh, okay. Like, I think this is something, but I think when we met in New York and Jeff came and, you know, and we saw everybody, like, it was just like, wow. And Royce came and it was like, this is something. People came out and met us like for an event, a super casual event, but yeah, so.
I think that one, like that event was where I was like, okay, these people are worth hanging around. But like there was something in my head that flipped when we were all together and somebody ran in the room and said, Joe Quesada is here at New York Comic Con.
Oh.
There was just this moment. So we had a party at New York Comic Con and we were all like in the bathroom, like freshening up. And it was this like one sink bathroom, like unisex bathroom. We're all crowded around the sink. And somebody came running in going, Joe Quesada is here. And that for me was where, I mean, like we had had so many successes, like the Vincent tweets. I mean, we had had winks from Jeff Loeb. We had had, plenty of little like.
Charlie called us out at least a few times.
Like the trail was going on. We had interacted with Charlie many times. He had given us shout outs, but there was something about Joe Quesada, VP at Marvel, or whatever his title, chief creative officer at Marvel at the time, like being there and supporting us at our party and just hanging out with us and chatting. And that was, I don't know, since none of you mentioned that one, I was going to throw that in.
There have been many moments where it was like, whoa, yeah.
So, but getting to those moments was no coincidence. Like there were some very specific things that happened within the campaign to lead to building that trust and getting to those very cool moments. And so like, what were some conscientious, because I remember before I was involved with the campaign, like I was very angry at Netflix and I wrote this like note to like Save Daredevil. And I was like, you guys should do this like thing to get people to cancel their Netflix accounts. And like, I got this like very calm response that was like, no, our mission is to do this and we're going to go about it this way. So what were some of those like steps that you took to set the tone of the campaign and keep it going?
Yeah. So, I can speak to a few aspects of that. Again, being on the Renew Daredevil team before it became Save Daredevil, like Aisha had mentioned, we knocked out a website in a day. We basically branded a mini campaign with Renew Daredevil in a very short amount of time. And that's because I come from a design background. I do brand design. I have sort of the built-in tools for that already. So I was happy to be able to be invited into a Twitter chat where I could be like, hey, I have very specific skills that I can use for this, and that's something that we've obviously kept up and maintained throughout the course of this campaign. I think one big aspect has been just the professionalism of our campaign, the branded nature of it. We've made a very specific effort to present ourselves in a way that was professional and serious so that people would take us seriously. We're not just fans that are like, throwing ideas at the wall and seeing what sticks and doing whatever. We wanted to be strategic and we wanted to make the most of our time, not only because, you don't want to waste too much energy on ideas that aren't going to get you anywhere, but because we knew, based on the cancellation, that we would have to maintain this campaign for at least 2 years. So we needed to make smart choices at the beginning. So that's one very clear step that we took, to build a foundation for the campaign that was professional and could maintain us over the long haul. Another thing that I'll just quickly touch on, and maybe someone can speak more to it after, is just, I think we were all on the same page when everything started on how we wanted to conduct ourselves as a campaign. We knew we didn't want to be those angry fans yelling at people on social media and taking over people's tweets and the replies. And, it could be that might work for a different campaign, but for us and what we wanted to achieve and the people we wanted to attract into what we were doing, we didn't want to be presenting a very like argumentative front. And so, someone else can go a little bit more deeply on that, but it was really important for us to be just respecting the people that were involved in the show, and respecting what they had to leave behind, the cancellation, and making sure that we were similarly respectful to the people we wanted to appeal to potentially bring the show back. And so that's something that I hope has really maintained consistent from day one to now, being past 18 months. Hopefully when you look at our campaign, you still think, oh yeah, the Save Daredevil team is the team that, is actually respectful and kind and to their fans and to the people they're trying to petition.
Keeping a positive tone was very important for us right from the beginning, and then showing support for all the cast and all the crew and everyone behind the scenes. We didn't want to play favorites. We loved everyone who had ever worked on Daredevil, and we wanted to support them. And that's what our ask is, our request that we want the same crew, same cast, same team back with the same rating. So that was important, staying positive and being professional. So that was one of the very important things.
Something else I think is that, I looked at this as a story. There was a narrative being told on social media. There was a villain, there were victims. And one of the things that was important to our campaign was who's going to be the hero. This story needs a hero. And I think by approaching it in that way, it kept it very positive. It kept it by saying, hey, will you be the hero? Will you help us to save this show? You can do this. These people were wronged. Can you undo this wrong? And I really do think that just kept it very positive.
Along with all of that, I think when we saw how long we had to do this, along with staying positive, doing just like making our content solely like save our show, it's like that can lose an audience, especially people maybe who aren't quite as like I'm here till the end. And I think early on we started seeing like we should also kind of be putting out content and as more of just like a fandom. Like we are also fans of the show. This is just content like to celebrate the show, not only to try to save it, but just, have some fun, have some rewatches, just enjoy the show together with the meetups, like come hang out and just meet other people that want to talk about Daredevil. So I think that has had a big part in, keeping an audience and fans that are continually coming back to our social media pages, because it's like our content isn't just like one thing. We have, a whole spread of things to offer, and it's just been a lot of fun. I think that's the other thing. It's like, we were all very angry at, about what happened, but we also just really enjoy, we're having fun too. And it's not just work. So I think that has shown through, what has been presented.
And a lot of that fun, so that leads right into some of the most fun things. Well, everything has been fun, but one of the things that I enjoy the most is the meetups. So the Fandom Without Fear has had many meetups. Our first one being New York City on a cold morning in February 2019, when I first met Lauren and many others associated with the campaign. And Royce Johnson and Jeff Cantor came out, and just like a crazy, crazy day, like a day that like nobody would believe. But like it evolved, like we had a meetup in Wales, we had meetup at San Diego Comic-Con, and I guess working all our way up to last fall in New York City on a rooftop with Joe Quesada and Charlie Cox. But those meetups like have served other purposes. Like what have those also helped with the campaign? Like, I know they've been a fun thing, but have they done anything to help move the campaign forward?
Well, the meetups were just a really fun thing. I will go back and say, like, it was actually a random conversation with my husband one night, listening to me talk, like, for hours about it. And he's like, you should bring it into the real world, like meet in person. He's like, I don't know, you know, get on TV or do something. And I was like, what? And so I went to Phyllis and I was like, we should do this in New York City. And she's like, okay, let's see what we can do. And of course, then I go back and he's like, I didn't mean you go to New York. Like, I just meant people. And I was like, well, I gotta go. So then all of a sudden I'm telling friends, like, I'm going to save my show. And it's like, what? Say that again? So it was just like a, you know, for me, like a really fun start to the whole meetup thing. But I feel like, at least for me, like, you know, starting with that meetup, to meeting season 3's showrunner Eric Olson or Joe Quesada, you know, or anybody, I think it has really humanized our group. Like, you know, we're fans behind it. Like, also I think we put on some fun parties and, you know, I think we've also kind of maybe gained the trust with, you know, people that are involved with the show, that they were also just willing to like come out and meet us. And then I think more people were like, oh, some of the cast have met these fans, and, you know, maybe they're just more than fans, but, you know, they have like, they're actually doing something here. You know, it's kind of a, you know, it's a movement. And so I think that has really helped, like seeing people actually meeting together, you know, at a pizza place in San Diego or on a rooftop in New York, or, you know, our first, you know, coffee, you know, in New York City. That, yeah, I think it's humanized this, and, you know, it built trust, and we've met some really, I mean, everybody that has worked on Daredevil, from, you know, everybody, like, they're all just so wonderful and so incredibly generous with their time, and just willing to, like, to come out and talk to us or do a panel or whatever. It's just been, I've just been continually blown away, because, I mean, we could have, you know, shown up in New York or wherever, and, you know, it had just been us, you know, 2-3 people hanging out, and maybe it wouldn't have gone anywhere. But, you know, I think it's led to a lot of really cool experiences, and the people who couldn't be there to, you know, have them enjoy it from afar from our social media accounts. Like, I think that's been really enjoyable.
Speaking of meetups, we had in London, we had the Underground Crypt meetup. Cafe and a Crypt.
Yes.
How did I forget the crypt?
In brand for season 3.
Yes.
I can't believe I forgot about the crypt.
Which was it was a very inspired choice for a meetup location, by the way.
We did it twice.
Yes, we did. We did it one in the spring and one in the fall. And I do want to call out, even though this was not an official meetup, when Aisha and I both went to Ace Comic-Con in January 2019.
Yep.
You know, before any of this became like a reality, I remember we ran into 2 fans that followed Save Daredevil and had made their own. They made their own Save Daredevil shirts, and we were like, "What? This is amazing!" You know, I guess that could be a good point to vote. Oh, this could be a movement, because people are already making their own shirts. But, you know, just to piggyback off what Lauren was saying, just, you know, building that sense of trust and community with the people that have been involved in the show. And I also want to say the comics too, because we've done a lot to try to promote the comics and encourage people to read the comics. And we've done stuff with the current creative team on the comics right now, but also with the fandom. You know, I think these events don't mean anything without the fans showing up. And I think it's it means so much that people actually want to come out and hang out with us, and, you know, and just have a good time and enjoy each other's company as Daredevil fans. So I love that our online campaign can have some kind of space in the real world with fans in real life, in real time. You know, unfortunately, we don't know when we'll get that opportunity again right now. But, you know, I'm so grateful that we had those experiences that we did last year and so many times over. So
I mean, in with all of those experiences, going back to that first New York meetup, it had like this whole crazy itinerary. And it was like, we're going to meet at 6 a.m. outside Good Morning America. And we're going to, do all of this. And in this itinerary, there were all these crazy things. Like, we're going to go to Marvel and we're going to try to get inside and talk to them. And then we're going to go to Times Square. I mean, like, I remember looking at this itinerary and it being ridiculous. And one, we did it. Like, I mean, we had this moment where we went to Marvel and all hyperventilated in an elevator. At least I hyperventilated in an elevator while we tried to go up and talk to Joe Quesada. Just like led into the Marvel offices, which didn't work, but still. It was a very cool experience. But then this ended in Times Square, where there was a Save Daredevil billboard in Times Square. And I mean, I think that got a lot of press. I think that got a lot of people's attention. And I know other fan campaigns have done it since then as well. I'm assuming we were the first, but I don't want to put that out there and upset anybody. But just sort of like, how did the billboard come about? Because my understanding is that didn't come from you guys.
No, so I'll be honest, I almost dropped the ball on this. I'm one of the people behind the Instagram account, and one of our lovely followers messaged us about a billboard. And I was like, kind of thinking like this, we don't have this kind of money. So I just hadn't like responded yet. I was planning on it. And then when I finally did, she was like, oh no, like I would love to pay for it. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, again, one of those moments, like there are people out here that are willing to, finance a billboard for us. So we, Phyllis and her, they worked together, found somebody to, a billboard in Times Square. And if anybody wants.
Yeah, I can hop on and give, I remember this exchange clearly. I remember you're like, I got this message. I'm not really sure what the details are. I'm like, okay, just have her email, and we'll like see what's going on. And it was this very lovely, super kind fan who had heard that the New York meetup was happening, and she just wanted to do something to like help commemorate it, so she didn't even really have any like, oh, hey, this could be like a really big thing for the campaign. She just wanted to do something nice because we were having a meetup, and it was like, okay. And so, we coordinated with the people that were, that had the billboard space, and we got the graphics up and we had it set at a specific time, and the team and the other fans showed up at that time and took pictures and video, and we were able to post that on social. And it did surprisingly get us an insane amount of press, mostly because a lot of people thought that having a billboard in Times Square must mean that we're like, well funded by some corporate interest or something. But no, actually it was just I want to say it was like 30 seconds, 1 minute or something like that, in Times Square. It cost like a few $100s, which the fan paid for. But it's one of those funny things where it's like, oh, we've heard about campaigns that have fans that donate a lot of money. I want to say like the Shadowhunters campaign and like the Timeless campaign. Those were two campaigns that existed before ours that had a lot of like fan funding for like billboards and skywriting and, all that. And I think a really good lesson from the billboard for us was that, you can really get a lot on a very small amount of investment. All we needed was to, and again, this was not intentional on our part, but we just needed to get something up there. And once people wrote about it, it kind of just took off on its own. That got us a lot of awareness. People who might not have heard of us, like read about it in like various comic book and pop culture news outlets, and so, this very kind gesture from a fan turned into something that ended up being a really important moment in just increasing our campaign awareness to the general public. So, you know, it was a lucky accident in that regard, but it's just helpful to point out that, you know, just because something seems that way on the internet doesn't mean it's true. You know, we did not shell out like $1 million for a billboard in Times Square. But, you know, for other campaigns that might be wondering or feeling maybe like, oh, I can only be successful if I spend a lot of money, or if I have fans that want to spend money, you know, that's not the case. You just have to be strategic, even if the strategy sort of just accidentally falls in your lap, right? But luckily, you know, we just happened to make choices before that led to that being possible.
I remember when we were talking to somebody from another fan-led campaign, and they were talking about some of the money that they had put into like advertisements, and they were like, but you did a Times Square billboard. And we were like, oh, well, that was only, you know, however much it was. And they were like, I mean, you could just see them like, holy crap, like how much money they had put into the stuff that they did. But there have been so many of those good choices along the way, but looking back, and we're like 19 months into this, is there anything that you would change about how you've gone about everything along the way? Anything that you would go back and do differently?
If I had a time machine, I would go back and connect with some of the international fans sooner. We fairly recently got in touch. Actually, they got in touch with us, a huge fandom from Italy and another huge fandom from Brazil. And they are wonderful. They are enthusiastic. They're like, let's do this. And we didn't really know about them. And I don't know how we could have gone about finding them earlier, but that would have been awesome because they're amazing fans. And if we could have started with them even sooner, that would be even better.
Yeah, you know, it's funny because when we did renew Daredevil, one of the amazing things that had happened with that website is we had fans volunteer to translate our site into like 10 different languages. It was kind of insane, you know, and it's something to keep in mind, especially nowadays with streaming, essentially meaning that your show will likely reach an international audience from the get-go. You know, if we had known those fans were out there sooner, we definitely could have been more strategic in reaching them and including them in a bunch of our initiatives. So that's a great point. Yeah.
And that moves on to just generally, is there any advice that you would give to somebody, you know, their show just got canceled, they really think it has a chance to be picked up somewhere else or get the attention of, you know, the network that it was on or something. If somebody was starting a Save Our Show campaign now, what advice you would give them from the get-go?
I can start with this one. And if anyone has any other thoughts, they can chime in. You know, I think that in the time of internet fandoms, it sort of seems like all you need to do is have a hashtag and a Twitter account, and you can be a Save Our Show campaign, which that could be the case. But I have found that with our campaign, and I think this can translate to other fandom campaigns as well, you know, you really only get stuff done when you have a team of like-minded people and you have a plan. So in our case, we were lucky that someone managed to tag in the right people to start our initial team. You know, I don't think people realize how much effort we put in behind the scenes to plan out initiatives, to maintain a steady stream of content, even just with Save Daredevil Con itself. That has been a very busy and time-consuming effort, which we love and we enjoy, and we love that we're bringing stuff to the fans, you know. So having a team, finding the right people, you know, you can do that through just the people you've connected to already on fandom, you know, reaching out to people that you're already maybe internet friends with on whatever social media platform you tend to spend your time on. And then again, being organized with a plan. You know, you're going to find that different people are going to have different skill sets and they're going to have different strengths. And you're going to quickly figure out what people want to do and what they can do, so allow people to step into the roles that fit them, allow them to assume responsibility. I think maybe in some cases it might be easy for one person to get a really big ego and say, you know what, I want to run the show this way. I want to do the campaign this way, and potentially alienate, other people who might just want to help. I think what has been just an unexpected joy from this campaign is that we have no egos on this team. Everyone is really working toward the same goal. Everyone has, especially after 19 months, we know each other well enough to know, what, this person's going to be great at this. Let's have them take the lead and knock it out. So, that kind of thing comes with time, but if you start organizing, you start with a plan, that's going to eventually evolve out of that. And, hopefully it will be easier to hit your goals and to achieve the things you want to achieve.
I would add to that, as much as possible, figure out the corporate structures who are involved in your show. Who is their intellectual property? Who owns it? Who produces it? Who streams it? Does someone have exclusive streaming rights? Do they have parent companies? Knowing that is so helpful, because the last thing you want to do is waste time campaigning to the wrong people. Know who you're dealing with. In the case of Daredevil, it's a little tricky because we have a company that owns the intellectual property. We have the streaming service, which had exclusive rights, and who there is a cooling off period written into the contracts. So we had to figure that out. We had to know the major players of who are involved in this show, and those major players might change. And it's important to do your research. It will pay off in the long run if you are campaigning to the right people.
Yeah, and just to plug our website really quick at savedaredevil.com, we have an FAQ page that has been literally tracking all of these shifts and changes. Again, we have dealt with a situation that is a lot more complicated than most show cancellations will be. Most show cancellations will not last this long, but the unknown period will not last as long. For most shows, once it gets canceled, either the network or the studio or whatever is going to be shopping right to another buyer. We knew we had this 2-year cooling period baked in. We also had Disney buying out another company. We had a lot of shifts in Marvel's corporate structure, Disney being their parent company, Disney starting a new streaming service. I mean, we've had a lot of threads to entangle. And as a result, a lot of us have learned way more about how all of this works than we would be as a normal fan, And so what we've also put upon ourselves as the Save Daredevil campaign is to educate the fans about who are the right people to talk to, who are the right companies to appeal to, what the situation is. Because again, even to this day, you find people that are like, oh, it's got canceled. Can I just go to Disney Plus? So we always have questions, and in our case, it might be different just because people might think it's a foregone conclusion that it'll come back somewhere, but for someone in a different situation, you'll need to know kind of what's making up the foundation of your issue with your cancellation, and what are going to be your unique solution that's not going to apply necessarily to us. So, as the campaign, it's going to be on you to be on top of it and to know sort of what is going on, currently with your specific show cancellation.
Just to circle back around to what Phyllis said about just, having a group of people that they all have different passions and skills. I think we were really lucky to I feel like we kind of hit everything that we wanted to. It's oh, we want to do this. We have a person for that. And, maybe that's not, how it is for every Save Our Show campaign, but I just feel really lucky that on top of, I don't feel like any of us have an ego, like you said, we have a lot of talent, and I'm consistently just blown away by, the passion, but also just the talent that is, behind the scenes. And, if anybody ever feels like I don't have a specific talent, it's like, everybody has something, even if it's just, in that moment, maybe they're not working on a certain, like a certain, project, just to be there and bounce ideas off of and just like fact check, just anything. And just everybody, just staying positive and just being there for each other. And I don't know, it's just been a really cool thing to be a part of.
Feel like we were very lucky to have this team, and I'm forever grateful that it was you guys and everyone involved with the campaign that I was talking to, because I don't know how I would have reacted if I didn't have you guys. So thank you.
Yes, we're both a campaign team and we're like a support structure for each other. So especially in those early days, it was just like having people who were like, oh yes, you're just as mad as I am and you know exactly why I feel this way. And you can talk me off a ledge if I'm feeling upset. It's been a very lovely experience seeing people balance each other out. Everyone gets a turn on the, oh my gosh, I feel so about this, someone's like, it's okay. This is our mission. This is what we're doing. These are our goals, So that's been sort of a really lovely bonus from all of this, and just is a fandom without fear, like best fandom in the world. I was involved in the Daredevil fandom in little corners here and there, and being a part of this campaign has really blown open, like, how amazing this fandom is. And so, the people that have been supporting us from day one to the people that found us like maybe a few months ago, and they're like, oh my gosh, this is great. I support you 100%, like that is really the fuel that has been keeping this engine going, and again, I hope that part of it is because of the choices we've made to be positive, to be respectful, to set a strong foundation for ourselves as a campaign. That has had great, it's had a very positive effect on the things that we do as far as initiatives, but it's had a great effect on just the people that we attract to what we're doing, and those are the people that are going to help make this a reality if we want to save Daredevil.
Definitely. We just have had so much like positive encouragement from the followers. Actually, just before I got on here, I was in the Instagram DMs and somebody sent over in Spanish, just like, I don't even know if you speak Spanish, but I just want to let you know, like, you guys are doing an awesome job. Like, Daredevil's worth it. And it was just like things like that, like, mean a lot to us. And especially in the early days when it was like, we were just trying to get our feet under us. And we were all, there was a lot of emotions and, just like, popping on and, seeing a DM like, hey, like, you guys are amazing. Or, even like, where can I get one of those shirts? And you're like, yes, like, you want to be a part of this. So, yeah.
So if people want to be a part of it now and they want to keep the momentum rolling, what should they do? What is still happening? And we're all on this little like feedback happiness right now because we've just rolled out a lot of the news for the con as we record this. But as people see this, our Save Daredevil Con is coming to an end. So what do we need the fandom without fear to do now?
Well, first of all, no matter how much you want to be involved or how little you want to be involved, there are options for everyone. So number one, we have a petition. You can go to savedaredevil.com/petition, or you can go to our website and find a direct link, but sign that petition and tell your friends to sign it. That's kind of the simplest. If you want to just be like, I just want to do one thing to help you guys out, like that would be the first and last thing you could do. That adds your name to a list of, I'm going to have Christina give me specific numbers. But a lot of fans have signed that petition, and that's something that we keep maintaining as like our social proof. Like, hey, this is just a fraction of people that know about this campaign and want to see the show back. Like, imagine the amount of people that don't know or haven't signed the petition. So if you can help us get to our next goal of 500K, that would be amazing.
I'd say another thing you can do while you're at the website, there's a great section on how to maximize social media. Check it out. Learn from our research. What we found out tends to work. We like to try to get certain hashtags trending on certain days. We give advice on who you should tag and who you shouldn't bother tagging. That's another really great way to get involved. You'll also find that there's different ways to contact us. If you have an idea, shoot it to us. We, like Lauren said, the billboard was not our idea. That came from someone else in the fandom. You might have an idea that is going to blow our minds and be brilliant. And also, if you have a specific skill, if you produce videos, if you do voiceover work, if you proofread, if you're a writer, if you, I don't know, animal trainer, whatever, if you have some kind of a skill that you feel like, hey, I am willing to help the campaign with this skill I have, reach out to us. We're not going to turn you away. Oh, and by the way, the current number as of right now is 358,580. Hopefully by the time this video is out there, it's even higher than that.
Thanks, Christina. I will also say, obviously, if you're watching this right now, you've just enjoyed almost a full weekend of amazing Save Daredevil Con content. And this is just something that we put on really for fun for the fandom. But we also will be hosting more initiatives that are more specific to our campaign and more specific about saving Daredevil. So, we'd recommend that you find us on whatever social media platform you use. We're on all the main ones, and just follow us. So that you know when something big is going to happen next. For example, late last year, at the 1-year anniversary mark of the cancellation, we sent out an amazing set of packages to Kevin Feige and to top executives at Disney and Hulu that included a lot of stuff from fans and just stuff that we put together as a campaign. So they're really very visible initiatives that you can be a part of, and your participation and your support will help us make a bigger splash and get more visibility. So, just keep an eye on social media, especially as we start winding down on our 2-year clock. And as we get closer to November 2020, we're hopefully going to be doing more and more to get back on everyone's radar.
And building on that, I just want to throw out to everybody that we brought together this con, and we brought together specifically this panel. It's something that we've wanted to do since earlier than this time last year. And it's something that we have put together at least one application to present at a convention. And we would like to maybe, if you enjoyed this and you think this is something that you would like to see at conventions, maybe reach out to your favorite conventions or something, or if you see conventions looking for panels, suggest something like this. Tag us, let us know about it. And if we have people in that area that can make it to that, we may throw our hat in the ring. So that maybe we could present some of what we've learned and what we've gone through to others. Because I feel like there have been some major lessons learned through this journey, perhaps because of the longevity of this journey as well. Our unique situation with the powers at play and the length of the campaign. But, we also have some other fandoms that would be interested in being in panels with us to present their stories as well. So if you, sometimes cons are like, what type of panels would you like to see? You can always throw out that you'd like to see one on Save Our Show campaigns to help us maybe get into that, break into our convention panel spotlight.
We just put on a whole con, right? So
yeah, we put on a whole con just so we can make our panel happen. And I think all of you, because like I said, like I'm probably one of the last people to sort of jump in with our Save Daredevil behind the scenes team, and just the well-oiled machine behind everything. Like I would do anything with you ladies and all of the other people that we haven't, that aren't here. I mean, this is not the entire team for anybody watching. There's many others behind the scenes that couldn't make it on this particular chat. And there's something amazing about this group and the skills that came together and how everybody complements each other. And I would do anything with you ladies.
Thank
Let's
you.
go.
Yeah.
So with that, everybody enjoy. It's the end of the convention. Everybody travel home safely. Be well. Hope your luggage makes it wherever you're going. You know, if you're having to move from the couch to your desk or desk to the couch, be sure to hydrate.
You know, make sure you pick up a con shirt to commemorate your experience this weekend. I do not know if there is swag left at this point, but if there is, please get yourself a swag bag. And yes, thank you so much for joining us this weekend. And we really hope you enjoyed everything that we put together for you guys. We know we enjoyed it a lot putting it together. So, okay.
All right.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.